this bonus episode, we are taping live from the Sammamish Chamber of Commerce Empower Her Women's Conference. The Sammamish Chamber has been a dedicated season 6 sponsor, and it is our honor to close out the season with a special live podcast.
Yes, this is such a special moment, and we are honored to have been asked to be guest speakers, especially our favorite topic, empowerment. Thank you for having us.
Claire, this is the first time we've done a live taping. I'm excited. I'm nervous. Who knows what can go wrong, but it reminds me so much of the first time we ever taped an episode. Should we talk about how that all started?
Yeah, we should, definitely.
So whose version of the story are we going to tell?
We have 2 different versions. Should I go first?
Why don't you go first?
Okay, all right. So I was on this business trip with the Bellevue Downtown Association on the way to Virginia. It's a long flight, 6 hours. I sat down in the middle seat, and then I was like, trying to enjoy my time. So my time usually on the plane, I never take the same seat twice. Usually I do the left side on the go there, and then way back I took the other side. Just balance it out a little bit. And then, so as I was sitting, and then 2 hours passed, I was like, oh man, I really gotta go pee. I mean, after 3 babies, just, it's not the same. So I was trying to hold on to it, and this, I would say she is very beautiful next to me, but also she was very focused. She was just like tapping it away on that little finger of her. Just kept, I was like, excuse me, can I go pee? Excuse me. And then she just keep working and so focused.
Earbuds in, to be fair.
No, even without, you'll be so focused. You're just a focused person. And then so finally I just could not hold it anymore. I was like, excuse me, I really have to go. I feel like I literally pushed you on the side and then just ran to the bathroom. You almost killed me, by the way. I felt like my bladder was gonna blast. You want to tell your story?
Well, so I of course let her out to go to the bathroom. I always sit in the aisle seat, by the way, because I never want to be that person. And then I became the person I hate, so it was great. But we get off the plane in Arlington, Virginia, and the group that I was with was told to go to a certain meeting point. So I go to the meeting point, and here comes the woman I trapped to the same meeting point as me. And I was like, oh dear God, what? This is that woman. She's gonna kill me on this trip. And we spent 3 days together in Arlington, Virginia, and had so much fun. And I think the fate really stepped in, and on the trip back, we were in the exact 2 same seats.
Yes.
And as Claire explained, she never books the same seat. I always book the same seat. So this was nothing new for me, but it was very new for her.
It was very new. Yeah, because almost like the fate put us together in that moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this time I was happy she was next to me.
Yes, the people next to us were not happy because we could not shut up the entire 6 hours.
And you did not work either.
I'm
so proud of you. Her laptop wasn't even out.
Yeah, first time
I was really proud of her.
So that was 3.5 years ago. Yes. And we just kept running into each other at different community circles. We both actually entered we both found out we had been part of a program called Bellevue Essentials, which is a 9-week class taught through the city of Bellevue, basically giving you a deep dive into the local political realm of the city. And you learn about each department, and it's a very thorough and engaging course. Yep. And Claire was in, what class were you in? 2016?
2016, when I opened the cafe.
Okay.
Yeah. You were a year after?
I was 2019.
Okay.
So I was there in 2019, so before we ever met. And I was representing, I was Mrs. Bellevue at the time. So this is when I was competing in the Mrs. Washington program. And so I wanted to get to know the city that I was representing, and I joined this class. Well, lo and behold, they have a very strong network of alums in this program. And so we kept running into each other of like, oh, we're both Bellevue Essentials. That's crazy. And a lot of, folks who come out of those classes serve on commissions or serve actually as council members. And so it's kind of a gateway into that. And then, lo and behold, we both ended up signing. This was after we met and we knew each other. We both got involved in a program called Leadership Eastside.
At this time, we're in the same class, though.
Yeah, we didn't know we were signing up for the same class. So we show up and
Yeah.
we're in the same class. And we're like, okay, the universe is telling us something. And so we spent 2 years together in that program with amazing cohort of other local nonprofit and civic leaders and business owners. I was there representing the Spring District as the general manager there. Claire was there representing her cafe and all. She's literally on like every board you can think of. So she's a highly engaged citizen. And we learned a lot about leadership and really engaging with your community and being a part of your community and embedding yourself in that work with alongside all of our local leaders.
Yeah, and I think that the leadership you said, it was like it's a perfect way for us to know each other better on like the working basis. Because before we were having fun, we would go out for like grab a drink, as friends. But now we're working the issue that's actually a daily challenges to the city and to the east side overall. Like for example, Linda's project, they focus on how to support minority small business, which exactly that's what my everyday life is, but she and her team invested time and a passion about how to support other nonprofit minority businesses. And that was really eye-opening because I almost signed up for the first thing because usually I'm a champion for that. I have to stand up and be the voice for that. But for me to not be in that group and then my bestie there, it was even better. Then we can actually learn from each other. And then I think when somebody else is your champion, it makes us easier to move forward and the progress is way stronger because we should not do any of this work alone. Knowing somebody believing in this always makes so much more sense.
Yeah, and I think Claire's group actually talked about, or they focused on childcare.
Yeah.
And Claire is a single mom of 3. I have been a single mom before, which is something we bonded over as well, actually on that flight home when we actually started to get to know each other. And so to us, it was really important to be able to have that kind of spark a different conversation about like, what does this look like for single mothers? What does this look like for all working parents, really? And we learned, so much through each other because we weren't part of the same team, but we supported each other's campaigns the entire time.
Yeah, I think that's like kind of go to where like because we know we can build a trust in the community that's closer to our heart. We drew a trusted circle where we can share our vulnerability. That I think that everybody who's attending right now, we're in this space because we want to be with each other and learn about other stories. So how like, by the way, I saw one man here. I want to clap for you. You are amazing. Thank you for being here. You're amazing.
We need our allies.
We do. We need our allies, right? Because we should not do this alone. So like, I want to like actually talk about. By the way, my bestie, she's really amazing. She climbed Mount Rainier, just saying, and then she's running a marathon in less than a month.
Yeah.
So we always say things. I say she works out for both of us and I eat for both of us, which is not true. She eats. I just started working out lately, but I'm just saying like that's how our dynamic is. We push each other to do the things we usually would not feel comfortable doing, but we know there's somebody supporting us. Do you want to talk about your journey first, about like all the amazing things you did?
Well, I think because we built this friendship and we were vulnerable with each other and built that trust, we started realizing that we could be each other's like champion. Yeah. And like started thinking about what were those big dreams, what's on that list that I had 10 years ago that I tucked away because mom life got in the way or climbing up the corporate ladder got in the way, but what was on the list that had yet to be discovered. So Mount Rainier was one of the ones that I had, and my husband was not a fan. And after I turned 40, I told him, I said, so I actually don't care that you don't want me to do this. I'm doing it anyway, but I will do it with a guided service. And Claire was just there being my biggest cheerleader and champion through all the training that I did. I mean, my husband did come around and was supportive.
He did. He's a keeper.
We
still like him. We love Henju.
But had I not had Claire really saying like, you should do it, because he was like, I don't know, that seems really scary, I may not have ever done it, right? But I had somebody in my corner who was like, no, this is your dream. You've had this dream for a long time. Go do it. And so I did, and it was the most incredible experience. This was last July. And standing on top of a mountain And being able to see the whole world around you really puts into perspective how small we are and how, even though we're that small, we can make a big impact, right? Even when you're on a mountain, if you don't pick up that trash, that's a big impact to the. So you really, as humans, we have an opportunity to make a huge positive impact and a huge negative impact very easily. And when I got home from that trip, I didn't know anybody on this trip, by the way. I just signed up and went. And there was only one other woman on the trip, and she was in the other group from me. And you know, we each went through our own journeys and challenges on that mountain. There's a lot of stories I have on that mountain, but when I got home, I had this incredible welcome home basket from Claire, and it was, you know, the cozy socks, the salt tablets for the water, and you know, champagne, the ginormous bottle of champagne, and all of these luxurious items that I've been craving for the last 4 days. But that's what having that support means. And you know, and it came up that there was an open seat on city council for Bellevue recently. And Claire and I had both expressed interest in potentially serving in that kind of role one day. And she and I had a heart to heart and decided that this was her time to take that. So why don't you jump in there about what that's been like for you?
Well, first of all, I think, you know, because I knew Linda always have that desire to be. So before it's fine, and I actually check in with my bestie, I was like, hey girl, this is like something I really wanted right now. I've been thinking back and forth and thinking about it. And then do you want this, or like, you know, let's figure it out. Because I think, you know, having a really healthy friendship is have to be very transparent and clear about our desire. And also that, you know, if that person is for you, then they would cheer for you no matter what. And also they be clear about if something that's is not going to make them happy if you choose that. And then being a good friend, then that's a sacrifice we need to make to respect that boundary and that nurture that friendship. And then that's who Linda is. You know, she knows it was a good time, perfect timing for me. And she said, you know, girl, go for it. When time is mine, it will come. We will support each other. So as you know, so Belden, we support over 30 different charities. And then we only hire marginalized groups through job readiness training. So we've been training over 100 individuals that's going through marginalized experience, either it's homelessness, survivors of human trafficking, refugees, single mothers like us, or BIPOC youth. So these trainings provide a permanent job placement in the future, so they can have way more opportunities, that they can be part of a community, respect, and also give back. So I was sitting on 8 different charity boards, and I love everything our business and all the boards doing. But when this space opened up, I felt like, do I really want it? Because for a moment, I didn't want to take it because I was really worried that I have to take care of so many people. I'm that sandwich space where I'm taking care of my elderly parents. I'm an only child, and I have 3 young children I need to take care of too. And then, you know, have my own needs, and then, you know, family and business. So I was like, maybe I should not do this, just because all these excuses I give myself, right? And then I sit down, I was like, do I really want this? And I was like, why don't I check with the people who think that they actually need me? I haven't never checked in with any of them. So I sat down with my parents, my kids, my staff at the cafe, my bestie. Turns out everybody's gonna be fine without me.
No, we'll be fine without you.
So
we'll support you.
Yes, but I feel like because I think that I'm really lucky, I have such a great support group. Everybody was happy for me to chase my dream, so I just went for it. It was probably 20 some candidates on there, and then I was the final 5, and we did a public interview during the council meeting, and then the council unanimously voted for me for the open seat. Thank you.
And I got to be there and witness that, and it was very, very special.
Thank you. And having her in the crowd, I think definitely make me more supported, knowing that I can be the voice of us, and that I was not speaking for myself anymore. So that power, that empowerment is so rich. Now I'm on the dais for over a month. You know, I think that being in the political realm is very difficult because everything's very polarized, and also there's a lot of needs out there. It's hard, right? It's hard to do that work left or right in the middle. I think that it gave me a lot of empowerment to knowing that I have the whole community, especially my best friend, supporting me. And then something that I find really helpful is she always give me really honest feedback. So if I'm not doing something good, I was like, hey, please tell me, like, how can I improve? With her, it's always really honest and really authentic because I know she wants the best for me, and that's what matters. And then same goes everybody we reach out in the community right now. But it's interesting when I filled the seat, I was like, do I want to run for another 2 years to do this? I want to just get in to see how I feel because it's almost that fear of I'm not good enough, right? You sit there because these are really amazing experienced council member. There's somebody who's on the council who's been there 30 years, and I'm this baby one. It makes me feel like when I'm speaking, am I good enough? Am I saying something sounds very stupid? Who knows? It makes me scared. But I think because there's a community supporting me, give me all these information like crash courses, knowing that okay, it's okay to ask the question that's different because you have to be you. And then we have to care about the things I care about, and then we our community care about. So what? We're not asking the same questions. So I am running for November for 2 years. If you ever in Bellevue, you see my sign in a lot of places, and my sign is very different from every other sign you see. There's purple, there's yellow, there's very vibrant colors, which is exactly who I am. But because I think it takes a good friendship empower me to be okay to be different, and we need to be who we are, so we don't have to ever pretend to be somebody else on that dais. Because I feel like when I'm doing campaigning, if I ever I feel like I would not able to keep up the lie, right? Because you have to always have a fake facade. And then if I'm not gonna lie, I think there's moments I have been being attacked, being ever since being in council, but I know that I'm not scared because I have all you support, I have her support. So what am I scared of? Nothing.
Yeah. How many of you have ever felt not good enough? Almost everybody, right? That's just something that we as humans live with, as women, is amplified. And I don't know that I would have achieved all of the things that I've achieved without somebody in my ears telling me constantly, you got this, you're good enough. And oftentimes as women, we don't even know how to ask for that support, right? And so without having somebody who just gives it without being asked for it, it transforms your life because you suddenly feel like you can take on that next challenge. My challenges have a theme. They're all fitness related. Claire's are much bigger in terms of global impact.
No, yours is big too. No, because I would say she just finished the 75. What's the term? I don't even
75 hard.
75 hearts. Has any of you guys done that before? No. Oh, there you go.
I haven't completed it, but I've tried it multiple
Yes.
times. So you're like a badass.
She tried one time and she got it. She I would be drinking in front of her, trying to no, Claire, no, I'm drinking my water, but I still love you.
Yeah.
Yes, your dream are way bigger than you think. Because fitness, to conquer yourself is the biggest part. Doing anything.
Thank you.
Yeah, you know that.
So we built this friendship. We've shared our biggest dreams with each other. Enter the podcast. This idea was born where every great idea is born, at a bar.
Yes.
During happy hour.
We were drinking what? Gin and tonic? Gin soda?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, something like that.
Yeah, something like that, yes.
And I looked at Claire and I said, I want to have a podcast. And I expected her to be like, okay, so does everybody, whatever. And she goes, okay, let's do it. And I was like, okay, now what? I'm not a tech savvy person. I have a 20-year-old son who literally laughed at me when I said, I'm starting a podcast. And he's like, you don't know anything about that. And I'm like, I know, but YouTube does. So we did some research on YouTube, how to start a podcast. I went and bought some cheap equipment on Amazon, and I was like, okay, we got this. We are just going to be amazing. And we taped our first episode at Belden Cafe. It seemed logical. The cafe was closed. It had this little room. I take out all the equipment to put it together. I can't figure it out. And I'm just like, she's looking at me like, what are we doing? And I'm like, I don't know. These cords aren't working. I'm following the instructions. It's not working. I don't know why. And we sat there very frustrated for an hour before I finally got one of the microphones to work. And we taped our first episode. And we had both been on the cover of 425 Business Magazine, and so that first episode was called Cover Girls, and it was talking about being recognized for the work that we had done by being on that magazine, and went back. By the way, not only do you tape a podcast, then you have to like edit it and get it up on the airwaves. Again, didn't know what I was doing. And I went back to listen to it, and it was like the acoustics were horrible in that room. It sounded like we were in a box. It was terrible. And I told Claire, I'm like, we can't put this up. And she's like, oh no, we're putting this up. This is part of the journey.
Well, I told her, I said, you know what, the fact that you're doing everything, like, let's just put it out there. Who cares, right? Like, I'm usually in this relationship. I'm the techie person, but now I'm letting like my bestie. I was like, girl, you got this. You got everything. So she's actually doing all the technical stuff. I told her I just roll out my bed in my sweats. I show up. That's all I do. I was like, okay, boss, you tell me what to do. I'll be right there. I do whatever you lead, and
she
I'll follow.
Usually supplies the wine or whiskey that we're drinking.
I'll water when you cannot drink.
Yeah, which probably didn't help with some of the challenges of that first episode. But it was, we had no idea. And I said, well, it's not perfect. And she goes, who cares? And I really, you guys, I did not want to put this episode online. And she's like, you're putting it online. And so we did. And of course, 2 of our friends listened to it. And we were like, hey, that's so awesome. We have a podcast. And then we were like, okay, are we going to keep doing this? So we kept doing it. We learned more every time we did it. We learned what kind of rooms we had to be in, what kind of, areas we needed to focus on. What was the conversation going to be? What were people interested in? And one of our most popular episodes was on self-care. And I do a lot of the prep work, and I kind of plan out what are the key topics we want to talk about. And then it just kind of ends up as a free for all. Well, that day I showed up and I had fainted that morning in my bathroom to the point that I was blocking the door and my husband couldn't come in and get me. I was exhausted. I was overdoing it. I was doing what probably every single person in this room has done before and overcommitted. And I fainted. And that conversation was the most real conversation we'd had up until that point, because it was a real thing. We were already planning to talk about self-care, and here I was not living all of the things that I was going to talk about. And we had people tell us like, no, this was a great episode and you guys have to keep doing this. And that's kind of what sparked us to keep going.
Well, I think we are, because sometimes we don't feel we're good enough, so we constantly overdoing it to prove ourselves, right? And then knowing that we have to do more and achieve more, have more names, more board we on. So it's funny, I just came back from a James Beard Award policy training, chef training. I was selected as the top 17 chef in the nation to be part of this policy making cohort with Carnation. It was amazing. I'm not a chef, but something I learned, it was talking about there's this James Beard winner chef. He was telling like, sometimes when we want to support the things we want, it's because we don't feel we are enough. So we're trying to thinning ourselves, like spread out everywhere, right? And then, but the thing is, when you think about it, when you're asking for like an auction item or whatever, a lot of restaurants and business, we give out so many to different causes because we want our name to be known. But the capacity is so little, right? If you spread out, like for example, the year we supported over 20 different charities, I would say I was not able to support all of them full-heartedly. And then so what I learned is when we're doing self-care, it means just focus on one thing at a time. And then knowing that, at this moment, it could be just yourself. Like we need to take care of ourselves, because if we don't have that oxygen mask cover our face, we cannot save nobody. So I had an intervention with her. I was like, you're not allowed to say yes to everything. And then she usually say yes. And we both say yes to a lot of things. But we are learning like we need to hold each other accountable, not to say yes to everything. Because it's not actually fair to the people we say yes to, because we may not able to give 110% for everything we're giving out too, and it's not good for you. And then there's no more scar. I was worried for her for a while. I was like, there's no more scar anymore.
Yeah, there was a scar.
Yeah, for a while.
So I think too that one of the, we had our fair share of setbacks and things where it was like, are we going to keep doing this? We had decided during our first season that we would have 6 episode seasons. That's what we could manage.
Mm.
And we would release 1 episode every other week. And, that involved having an Instagram page, getting us up on Apple, Spotify. And then we decided, what about YouTube? Can we do a video podcast? Because that was, the new thing that everybody wanted, video podcasts. And that involved like hiring and paying a studio time. We found a great partner who had a studio, and we realized we could actually be really efficient that way because we could go and tape 3 episodes at one time. We did learn our lesson the first time that if you don't change your jacket or your top, you look the same in every episode. So we did that mistake one time and learned from that. And that really was another amazing experience. It took one less thing off of me to have to record and bring the equipment and all of that. I still do the editing for that to save us money. But then we started, saying like, what's next? Like, could we bring on some really cool guests? And so this season, last season and this season, we've had amazing people like Jen Mueller from the Mariners, Laura Kleiss from Intentionalist, Nate Caminos from the Port of Seattle. All these people who have been such great allies and supporters of our podcast and our friendship, and have told us that what we're doing matters. And even if it's not, hundreds of thousands of people following us, or even thousands of people, it matters to the people that we care about, and that means that it matters to us.
I'm going to back up. She didn't give herself enough credit about editing. so she, keep in mind, she has a full-time job. She has a 20-year-old son, and then she also had a 10-year boy, and two, and a husband, right? And all these, and also herself. So the work she put onto this podcast, because this is our thing, is really priceless. Because we all know time is something we don't get back, and then how much she investing to this friendship is something that I think is going to be lifelong. And I know that the fact that I have somebody who's in this journey together, really believe what do we do, it's just so cool, right? So when we did YouTube, I remember when we asked each other, it's like, okay, are we going to invest this money to ask somebody? Because it wasn't cheap.
No, it's not cheap.
And then we are putting out this effort already. So we think about, okay, I guess we can start asking for sponsorship. So we both together probably support 20 different charity partners and then charity boards. And then the thing is, we have no problem asking money for other people. It was really hard for us money for ourselves. It was really hard because, even now I'm campaigning, I have such a hard time asking people money for myself. And I feel like most of us feel that way, right? It's really hard because people ask you what's the money for? Then I feel like we're opening up another layer of vulnerability that we do need help, and we need extra financial support to make our dreams come true and keep moving. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think I was the kind of person who couldn't even ask my parents for $5. So I would rather just be scraping the floor for pennies than having to ask for money. And so it was scary, and it was something we had to get past. And thank goodness for Julie and
Thank you, Julie.
who were believed in our show, and Julie signed up to be a sponsor. And we realized that oftentimes you just have to ask, and people want you to ask, right? They want you to come to them with ideas. And we also went back to 425 magazine. They've been big supporters of us. We were their 2024 Women to Watch, and we were on the cover of that magazine again, and we got to speak at that event. And we kind of floated it by them, what do you think about having a partnership with us? And they were like, sounds awesome, let's do it. And we were like, wow, that was really easy. We should be asking people for money. And we just, our last episode aired this Tuesday of this season, and we interviewed their Citizen of the Year, Mackenzie Fish. And so we've just had a great time, learning and growing and bringing on people and asking them, what do you guys care care about? What do you want us to talk about? And it's interesting because we've now, we've emceed a couple of the Bellevue Downtown Association events together. We've been on Studio Live, Q13. We've been on New Day Northwest Hot Topics, all because of our podcast and because they love the story of our friendship, and that even in an older age, you can meet your best friend.
And I want to add to that, I would just like, the things we've been accomplishing together, it just so much more cooler when you're doing with somebody who believe in you. It's just like, there's no judgment. There is days I'm just tired and I don't like myself, and then after, on Tuesdays we have council meetings. Sometimes it lasts till like 11 p.m. So we go into there, it's whole day meeting, and then afterwards we have like more sessions. So I don't get home till sometimes till 12. So my children knows on Tuesday, mommy's out. Like, I cannot help you. You just have to do that thing. I sometimes want to go home and listen to like, Linda's voice in the podcast on the way home. And it's actually really, really nice to hear that. And knowing that like we have this together. And then, I'm pretty proud that on the council member, there's nobody have a podcast like ours, and then I think that it's just so special. And then, even people who sometimes like, oh, this is like in traditional sense, like why would you have, being a councilwoman doing all these things in the social media, doing, podcasts. But I think that's who we are and that's who I am. And I think that's going to open a different level of engagement because, I mean, I'm not going to talk about crazy politics, but right now a lot of politicians, they are getting older and older, right? So we really, really need younger generation to be activating and sharing about what they care about. And then having this platform to showcase like we can have these things together because we have the support. It's just really refreshing. And then, they can listen. We can reach people who needs being powered in every level there is because our podcast. And then, we actually remember Elijah, the young man we met, I think.
Yeah.
Because there's this young man we met, I think the Two Lion opening.
Yeah.
He actually came to me. He's like, you don't know me, but I listen to your podcast. He's in his 20s. And that was like, he's like, because of you, now I'm listening to the city council meeting. And then because you and Linda are so cool. That was really nice, actually.
Yeah, and I didn't pay him to say any of those things.
No, we did not. I didn't even give him free coffee. Okay,
Yeah.
It's okay.
And one of the other cool things too is that we try to incorporate, like, again, infuse ourselves in there, but also be giving a voice to either people or organizations that needed to get their message across. And so we also had the executive director of the Sophia Way, which is the women's shelter in Bellevue, and Mary Helen's Place in Kirkland. We had her on the show, and she got to talk about her journey and how she got into that world. That's a really hard job to run a women's shelter. And we got to give a voice to that kind of service work. And that feels really good. And then we also hire my 20-year-old son, who's a business marketing major, to do our social media. So it gives him experience doing it. It takes one less thing off our plate, and it feels, more like a group effort than having to do it alone, because I am the worst at that. Claire's always like, what can I do to help you? I'm like, it's fine. I got it. Just show up.
She just says no. But I'm glad Parker's helping us. But, I talk about like the men aspect, right? I think having like men helping us is really nice because one of our now he's our new bestie. He's a man. He's like, director of Port of Seattle. But when he was on our show, he actually talked about his own experience with homelessness and how his dad actually is currently experiencing homeless in Hawaii. And that story was so, I think it was kind of raw and also very lived-in experience hand to hand. And then this man, like, in one, like a lot of majority of listeners actually are men, because I think that, men, we have to, they're stereotypical type where they have to be strong. And then for me, used to sit on the men's shelter, that is not the case, because I believe everybody needs support. And just because you are man doesn't mean that you need less, right? And then so I think we as a society, like, we need to come together to see, like, go through the gender part, go through all the things could be put a stereotype and bias onto a person, and knowing that at the end of the day we're just humans. And then our podcast, I believe why it's so connecting and then relatable, because we only talking about the humanity in us, because we may seem like we have achieved a lot. We are hardworking. We are, successful in our what are we doing. But and deep down, we just two little girls trying to find friendship. And then,
That's like, can we write that down and put it in our book? I'm determined I'm writing a book called Whatever She's Having, just so you know. So
Okay.
I'm putting that in the book.
yes, I'll send it back cover with
But,
you.
yeah.
Yeah. I'll
But it
claim
is
some
true.
credit.
When you peel back the layers,
Yes.
we're still those two little girls who want to have a best friend and want to, conquer dreams together. So I love that.
Yes.
I love that.
I love you.
One of the things that we always do when we end an episode, before we get there, what has been your favorite moment about the podcast?
I think the favorite moment is actually just letting it go, let you do, be in charge. That's my favorite moment. Because I think, it's interesting because I'm like, our business, we have like over 25 people. And then, I'm on the council, I have to all make all these decisions. My mom, in the future. But so I have to always make decisions. But the fact that we're in this, I can just be that follower, just be the little girl, like, like I got my bestie, like, can lead me. It's the best thing ever. And then I just trust you to do whatever. It's the best.
I love that. Well, it's the one place I get to be the boss. So
You're
I'll
the
take
boss.
it.
You're the boss.
One of my favorite moments is for our 1-year anniversary of the podcast, we had a women's empowerment event at the Woodland Park Zoo. And we had a couple challenges getting the date booked. It had to be moved. And for anybody who has ever hosted an event, and I'm sure Julie can attest to this, the anxiety over registration is a real thing. And people waiting to the very last second to register.
Yes.
And we had to tell the group what the catering numbers were and all of this. And again, we were putting our own money into this. Nobody at that point, we didn't have sponsors. We wanted to, have this women's empowerment / anniversary party for ourselves. And so we were putting all of this money into it. And we were also showcasing a bunch of small business owners. And we had a youth band there. It was amazing. And I remember telling Claire, like, literally it's going to be you and I toasting champagne. And we're spending a boatload of money for you and I to toast champagne. And I was like, nobody's going to show up. Nobody's going to show up. And she's like, it's fine. And that night, by the way, it was freezing cold and they did not have heaters, but it was amazing. And just being in a room of women and friends who were there to celebrate us and celebrate each other. And I literally didn't know how many people were going to show up, and the room was full.
It was.
And it was such a beautiful moment getting to showcase, all these other amazing women business owners and just have fun together. That was really, really special. And a moment I will never forget.
And thank you for believing me, saying that it's going to be fine. By the way, if anybody knows, it's hard to pull it. I think it's going to be
I don't
fine.
chill out very well.
She don't. It's okay. You are professionals. You have standards. Let's think about that way, okay? You have standards, and that's why I feel like we get along so well. Because I was like, you know what? I'd rather have an A- versus A+, because, there's more room to improve next time. Everything's going to be fine. Where she's like, we're going to do perfect. I was like, okay, we're going to try to do perfect. But,
And I'm like, no, we're doing perfect. And
I was like, yes.
Okay, now we can get to this. So we end every episode with a quote. And I usually try to find a quote that's related to the topic that we're talking about or the guest that we have on the show. So this quote is by unknown. I don't know who wrote it, but it said, friendship isn't about whom you have known the longest. It's about who came and never left your side. So Claire and I celebrated 3 years of friendship last month. And I've experienced some of the most rewarding and profound moments in my life having her next to me. People actually get us, one of two things will happen. One is they'll think that I'm Claire and she's Linda. And two, they'll be like, well, where's Claire? like we're just glued to each other. I'm like, I don't know. I don't have a tracker on her. And they're like, well, you're always together. Where is she? I'm like, yeah, I don't know. But we're here today because we, our listeners believed in us. They believed in our friendship, and they believe that women, well, we believe that women can accomplish anything when you are fearless, you show up for yourself, and you champion other women's success. So thank you all for having us.
Thank you.
Oh, I don't know, Julie, do you want me to open any questions, or what do you?
Sure.
Okay.
Do we have any questions for Claire and Linda?
Yes,
I can,
front row
can I
questions,
just
yeah.
steal one
Yeah.
of my-
Okay.
I think so. Oh, there you go.
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you so much for that. And I really just had a comment about what I'm seeing you guys modeling, which is this friendship and this support system. And I think so many times we have this concept of like pick yourself up by the bootstrap and be, find it within, and be confident from within and give yourself credit and all this stuff about like, figuring out how to love ourselves, how to be confident, but doing it alone and ourselves, and actually having a support system, having someone fill you up, having someone tell you that you're doing great and you're actually amazing and I see you and I value you and I hear you. We can't do all this generate it all from within, whatever that means, right? So I really like what I'm seeing modeled on stage, which is a supportive and genuine friendship. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much. I think
So you guys' origin story is the greatest. And thank you. I feel as though I struggle with like my experience in life has been everyone loves my personality. Like I think I'm a good time, but I feel like it and not
Girl, I can tell you're a good time.
like
Yes,
that.
you are.
Yeah.
But
and I know I can count on you for a safety pin. So.
Yes.
There you go.
Thank you.
But I feel like that's all that I like. That's how far I get with relationships.
Mhm.
And I personally don't know how to like. I mean, I moved a lot like as a kid and stuff. So and then like your trauma and stuff like she was talking about. So it's like I guess trust on my end is a struggle. But it's like people are like, oh, let's get coffee, and then it's like it kind of just ends that way. So like is there any tips? Like, obviously, like I meet people like on the plane, whatever. But like, what is your like advice for like meeting people and like how do you get more beyond like I saw you at a networking event. I'm gonna hire you. Like, like I guess partly I'm looking for friends, or at least
Right
other
here.
friends.
Sign me up. I'll be your friend.
Uh,
Yeah, I'm gonna get you through 75 hard, girl. I will be your 75 hard coach. I'll let Claire speak to it as well, but I would say when we started asking each other what our big goals, what our dreams were, that's when like the real stuff came up, right? That's when we started peeling back the layers, because in that question, not only do you get to put a voice to what a dream that you've had is, but you allow the other person to then be your champion for that. Once they know what you're trying to achieve, they can help you get there. They can be your motivator, your cheerleader, or they might have a connection to get you where you are. But it gives them a glimpse into who you are as a person and what your desires are. It scratches that surface level stuff and gets to like, who are you and what are your big dreams? So I think that's kind of where our friendship really got deep, is when we were, like we said, vulnerable with each other enough to be like, hey, what do you want to do when you grow up? Like, we still got a lot of life to live. What do you want to do? What do you want to accomplish? How can we help each other? And that's where that came in, and I'll let Claire add.
So one of the things we talked on the plane was online dating. Have anybody tried that? Okay, it's okay, be brave, it's okay, So when I met Linda, we talked about she was a single mom before, and then I become a single mom during COVID. I mean, he's an amazing person that just I find I'm not in love with him anymore. So I prefer to let him find somebody who would truly love him for who he is. But then into the online dating phase, right? It's almost like finding a friend. It's like, one suggestion, I mean, it worked for me for online dating or finding a friend. I think that we need to be very clear about what we want and not be afraid. So like one thing is what I say is when somebody say that they're gonna come get a coffee with me, if that person initiated it but never follow up, maybe that person's not interested enough to seeking that friendship. And the same thing is online dating too, right? I may go on a first date. This man could be the most amazing person ever, but there's no follow up. Then maybe he's not interested. There's no point of like pursuing that. If and then for me, I find like with Linda, I think when we finding some person a prelude to like a coffee together, and then you have that common interest together, you can do more things to explore if this is a good friendship. And then I believe that sometimes it's a hard times when there's something that we have a dividing opinion on something, then you can see if this is going to be a friend, it's going to be a life forever. Because I think that when there's a divided opinion, and then, I mean, that happens in the world a lot these days. And then if you cannot bypass this different opinion on things and then still take care of each other for our core values, then that friendship is not going to last because it's really fragile, and we are very fragile. So I think being very honest about our top to do and must boundaries to keep, it helps us to find the true friend that's able to be there. Because I think there's a lot of I call them acquaintances, just meeting on the surface. But I don't believe that my friends where if I had a really rough day on the console, have like another meeting, I can literally dish out anything I want because maybe that person maybe we're adding burden to that person too. Maybe they're not ready for that too. So that's like how. And also I would say like for the longest time I really want to go out of my way, make sure that I'm creating space for friends who want to reach out, and people will ask me like, oh my gosh, you must be so busy. I was like, no, I'm not busy, it's okay. Actually, I'm really busy, but I'm like, no, it's okay, I'm not busy, I will find time for you, right? And then I realized like, what, like I have to own up the fact that I'm actually really, really busy. I'm not gonna lie. The council is a full-time job, and then my running business is a full-time job. So I'm having many full-time jobs in my head. But the fact that I want to make my time out for that 1 hour to be with you, it means I really care about you. So I expect you respect me, and then can understand and treasure our friendship the same way. So we have to be like standing up to be clear about our boundaries and what we want. Because at the end of the day, your needs are the most important thing before we can pursue anything else.
Awesome. Oh my God. I can only do one more
Okay.
question, and Dawn has the microphone.
Okay.
So hi, my name is
Hi.
Dawn. I'm a leadership coach, LE 2012, which if you guys haven't looked into that program, I think we would all highly recommend it. It was incredible.
Yeah.
But my question for you, I was a single mom and then got married and had a blended family alone. And the one thing I never made the time for was my girlfriends. So with all that you guys have to do, and you kind of answered this in the last question a little bit, but what was that tipping point? What made you just say, no, this is so important?
So for me, again, like time is something is very valuable. We don't get them back. And like I said, I think I wanna me and Linda, we find our time together because I believe that when I'm with her, I'm my true self and I feel the best about myself. And I think I feel really lucky, to be honest, just sitting there playing. I mean, and my bladder's still there. I'm feeling so lucky with her, and finding my person and going through this journey, and then knowing that ahead of me, this political realm and this small business is going to be hard, right? So like I think we have to be patient to finding that right person that's for you as a friend. Same thing as any kind of relationship. And then I think in life is when we find that friendship that's we prioritize the things matters to us the most, and then we prioritize things makes things. Well, I'm going to be selfish, like we want to prioritize things bring us joy, right? So if it doesn't bring me joy, then please do not waste my time, right? So like I'm pretty blunt about it, that I tell that to my boyfriend all the time. I was like, babe, if you're not like really bringing joy today, sorry, we don't need to hang out. Okay, let's be clear. And I think that also it's okay to have that hard moment with our girlfriends, knowing that like we are not gonna be like perfect every day. No, we shouldn't be. We are not. And then so when we find that friend and knowing that we can rely on each other, then you clear like schedule. It's like for Linda, like she prioritized her health and fitness, right? So she always work out first thing in the morning. It's really important to her. And to me, sleep is very, very important. So,
Opposite.
yeah, opposite. Sleep is really important. So like we need to prioritize the things matters to us most. And then when we find that person for us, we know that we can do everything so much stronger and faster and more efficient, and knowing that we will never have to doubt ourselves ever again. Because even if everybody's gonna go like doesn't believe what I believe, I have her. It's gonna always gonna believe in me, and then she's worth it.
And I would add to that too that if it's not a hell yes, then it's a hell no.
Yes.
And really, the podcast was my way of duping Claire into hanging out with me for a set amount of time on a set schedule. So find that thing that you share in common with that friend or that person that will make sure that you're not doing the, oh, we're both so busy we don't have time, right? It was really our accountability tool of like, we know that we have this thing together, we have that we both enjoy, it brings us joy, and it has to be a priority because we know we have that episode has to launch on this day, right? And so it really kept us in check of like being intentional about our time together. And the other thing I would say is that, you know, when Claire talks about putting your priorities first, I've gotten comments of like, well, what about your family and your kids and your husband? And they are a priority, and I'm at every hockey game and every soccer game and all of that. But if I can't put myself first, what am I teaching my children? If I can't show them that, yeah, mom has goals, mom has dreams, mom did not die at 40 years old, she still has things that she wants to achieve. I need to be that model. I need to show them that friendship is important, that supportive, caring, healthy people in their lives is important. Because otherwise, they will find friends that bring them down. And that I don't want to do. But I have to model that and show them like this is a very healthy relationship of somebody who genuinely loves and cares for me and wants the best for me. And that's what I want my children to find in a partner, in a friend, in a whomever. And the other thing is it's just when we're together in taping a podcast. I recently heard I'm a Peloton person, obsessed. But one of the instructors said, it's not so much about finding the best version of yourself, because that's very subjective. Who's best? Who's the judge of that? But it's about finding your favorite version of yourself. And my favorite version includes being in the podcast room, sharing our stories, listening to other people share their stories with us, and giving each other that high five that we need to tackle the next goal.
Wow. Thank you so much.
Oh my gosh. It was like getting emotional.